What's going on today, guys? For today's vlog, or video, not so much a vlog as it is a podcast episode. This week, the Powerful Mind Podcast is the show that I host on iTunes. I should probably upload it other places, but starting with the first time I actually got successful video recording on an episode. Mind you, it's like one angle the entire conversation, but it is a podcast recording that I was able to get. I was going to use that for today's video. It's with Barry Chandler. I think there's a lot of value in there, and I didn't really record any other vlog content, so yeah. We're going to go ahead and upload that today. So that's just like, I guess, a taste of what the podcast is. I mean, the more video that I can actually get of these, and eventually I'm sure there'll be higher production value, but it's 24 minutes of podcast, and it'll be, if you're into podcasts and that sort of thing, then it'll be great. If not, then tomorrow there will be another video that's not a podcast. So yeah, that's today's video, and I hope you enjoy it. Barry, for joining me today on the Powerful Mind Podcast. So at the beginning of every podcast episode, we just like to get an introduction to know who you are a little bit better. So who is Barry Chandler? Can you give us an introduction into your life? Like, what do you do? Why do you do it?
Sure. My name is Barry Chandler, and you will tell very quickly that I'm not from the US, and this accent is Irish. So I'm from Ireland, grew up in Ireland, and I've been in Ohio and the US, including California, about 11 years now. And what I do for a living is I help businesses figure out how to matter, how to be more meaningful to their customers, to their stakeholders, so that they can build businesses that take care of the needs of everybody, not just their bottom line. So I have a belief that business shouldn't exist just to make money, that it's got an obligation to help stakeholders, help elevate stakeholders out of poverty or out of any situation they're in, or help improve their lives, be they customers or employees. I think that's the obligation of business, and so I think that's what customers are demanding more and more, and employees are going to work for companies that think this way, that have a purpose beyond profit. Mm-hmm. So I help businesses figure out what that purpose is, so that they can grow and meet the needs of their stakeholders.
Awesome. And so there's a couple of areas that I want to go into. First of all, talking about StoryForge and how you help your clients build a story for themselves and to really lead from their purpose. And the other one's conscious capitalism. But before I get into either of those, I want to go a little bit deeper. So what is it that you're passionate about? What drives you to get deep with your customers?
So I've run my own businesses for about 12 years now, and I had a marketing agency that focused on social media back in 2010, 2011, in addition to the software company that I built. And this marketing agency, we were hired by bars, restaurants, and hotels to help bring customers in the door. Mm-hmm. And so we used Twitter and Foursquare back in the day, and other apps and social media channels to help do that. And what I quickly realized was that while we were bringing customers in the door, they were coming in for offers, they were coming in for discounts, they were coming in for very they weren't building deep relationships with the business. Mm-hmm. And so the business had to constantly spend more money to attract more customers. And I felt that there had to be a better way. And when I sold my marketing company to a company in California, I quickly realized when I joined this big organization, a big publicly traded company, I quickly realized that they also had no deep connection with their customers. And I wanted to figure out how to build that deep connection. I was hired as the chief marketing officer as part of the acquisition, and I was determined to figure out how that company could become more meaningful to its customers so they could build deeper relationships, reduce their marketing spend, have lifelong customers. And it was very difficult because the product there wasn't up to scratch as much as it needed to be. It didn't really meet the needs of its customers. But when I left that company, I realized that in order for a business to be successful, it has to be meaningful. And that really excited me because it felt like that was my meaning, to help other businesses find theirs. And so I became extremely passionate about this. I researched it nonstop. I looked for examples of companies that were doing it the right way, that were building brands that really mattered. And the more I looked into it, the more I realized this is what I want to spend my time doing.
So were you always like a natural storyteller? Like, and when you see a company, when you see a person, do you naturally just like pick out the story, or is that a skill you had to develop through marketing and through where did you get that skill from?
I think there's an element of it that's just part of the Irish DNA. We're natural storytellers. The art of storytelling is more alive in Ireland than anywhere else. And if you think back generations, stories were used to bring people together. Stories were used to build relationships, to have fun. Like before technology, people would meet at a bar at a crossroads of, two busy roads. There'd be a bar at the corner, and people would meet there and they'd tell stories about their day, and these stories would get passed down from generation to generation, or they'd get told from one person to another. And it's what built community. These stories built communities, and I think that's I think we do that naturally to a degree in Ireland. I think I've learned more about the science of story in the last few years, how stories. We're biologically wired to remember stories. You can give us facts all day long, but as humans, we remember stories because we connect with them, and we see ourselves in the story, or we see elements of ourselves in a character, or we see our beliefs aligning with the beliefs of that business or the individual that's telling a story. And so what happens biologically is that our guard comes down because we're not arguing with facts. We're building relationships based on story and alignment of values. And that's something that's really interesting that businesses overlook oftentimes, is the fact that they can build deep relationships without talking about their product. They can talk about something deeper. They can just look to build meaningful relationships by wondering, how can I improve that other person's life? And that's fascinating to me.
Awesome. And I actually wanted to lead from there. So you helped start, and you're helping to build Conscious Capitalism's chapter in Columbus. So how did you find Conscious Capitalism, and how did StoryForge lead you into this role that you have, that you're moving into now?
So Conscious Capitalism is this incredible organization that was founded about 5 years ago after the writing of a book. So John Mackey, the founder of Whole Foods, and a gentleman called Raj Sisodia wrote a book called Conscious Capitalism that captured the minds and the hearts of many people. And the idea of this book behind this book was that business could do well by doing good. It didn't have to first do well and then do good. It did good, and then it did well as a result. Like Whole Foods is a great example of a company that takes care of all of its stakeholders, vendors, partners, employees, customers. They meet their needs and they're profitable because of it. And so John Mackey and Raj Sisodia believed that any business could live up to the principles that Whole Foods had lived up to, and they had 4 principles: that they had a higher purpose, conscious leadership, a conscious culture, and engaged all their stakeholders. So when we started our business, StoryForge, in 2014, we already believed these things, and we were running our business this way. And in fact, we were helping other businesses become more conscious and become more socially responsible. We didn't realize this other organization existed until we had a meeting with somebody who said, "Oh, just like Conscious Capitalism, right?" I said, well, what's Conscious Capitalism? And he told us what it was. He mentioned some other businesses in Columbus that had an interest in it, and he said, "You guys should start the chapter." So we got together with the other businesses that were interested, and over the last 18 months or so, we've been getting our chapter off the ground. And so we are a subsidiary of Conscious Capitalism International. We are the Columbus chapter, and we've had a couple of events, and I know you've been to our events, which is great. And so we believe that we can use this chapter, and we can use this chapter to help business leaders in the Columbus area understand or learn from businesses that have succeeded by this approach. And they can actually end up elevating their community. They can elevate people out of poverty. They can elevate the needs, they can solve the needs of their customers. They can meet the needs of their employees. And they can be wildly profitable at the same time, which is really exciting to us.
Yeah. And there is a sort of a similarity I've found in your approach and Conscious Capitalism's approach to building businesses, leading from your purpose, with an organization as well as on the individual level. So if someone wants to be involved in Conscious Capitalism or involved in that kind of a movement to create a better world, living from your purpose, do they have to be a business owner, or how can someone be involved with this organization or this movement?
It's open to everybody. It's whether you are a student. You could be studying engineering and have an interest in this, or you could be a seasoned entrepreneur. You could be 80 years of age. Irrespective of your background, irrespective of your age, irrespective of your industry, Conscious Capitalism is basically a meeting place for people who believe the same things. We just share beliefs. We share beliefs, we share values, and we believe that if we help others see these beliefs or understand what we believe, that they too might have an insight and realize, oh, this is for me, I believe it. So I had a meeting today with a woman who runs a PR company, and she asked for a meeting because she said she came to this first Conscious Capitalism event, and she said she had never felt more joy than when she was standing there for an hour listening to the stories of how businesses are aligning with these principles so that they can improve the lives of everybody around them. She said, that's exactly how I've been running my business. I just didn't know there was a name for it. And so whether you're running a PR company, or in the case of our event last week where we had a bunch of students from Ohio State University, it doesn't matter what your background is. If you believe that capitalism can be used to improve lives, this is the place for you.
Awesome. So I know the movement's gaining a lot of steam these days. Like in this, since that book is published, even a little bit before then, it's been getting a lot of steam, getting very popular. But why do you think capitalism did not seem to have this sort of mentality beforehand? Like why is it now becoming popular versus before?
So we have to distinguish between the different types of capitalism. If we look recently at the World Economic Forum in Davos in Switzerland, a statistic was released that trust in big business is at an all-time low, while at the same time trust in small business is at an all-time high. We've seen an increasing decline in trust levels with big business. We've seen, we know more than ever that businesses are not meeting the needs of their stakeholders, right? Capitalism has got a bad name because it's associated with bad things. It's associated with crony capitalism. It's associated with the likes of Enron and businesses that have capitalized or have taken advantage of other stakeholders, maximized returns for shareholders at the expense of the general public or at the expense of employees. And so capitalism isn't seen to be a trusting thing. However, capitalism in its purest form, there has never been anything more beneficial to the world than how many people, the billions of people that have been lifted out of poverty because of pure capitalism. And capitalism, at its most basic form, is a voluntary exchange of goods. I have something for sale. If you're willing to buy it, here's the price. Let's do this. That's capitalism. That's all it is. But when you start taking advantage of other stakeholders, it's crony capitalism. So why we believe there's a resurgence in our movement, even though the word capitalism is in there, is because it's a conscious form of capitalism. It's conscious of the needs of everybody in it. It's not just, let's drive the share price as high as we can and then exit from stage left with a big paycheck. It's not about that. It's saying we can all do well. Let's not give capitalism such a bad name. If it's done right, there's something there for everybody.
Yeah. And this is something that I'm actually a little bit curious about. So as a startup, funding is very, very important, and you need to have you need to have capital to base your business off of to run. And sometimes doing good, feel a little bit counterintuitive to try and build a company and do good before you have the legs to stand on. So we're in, at the Idea Foundry right now, there's a lot of startups. How can someone begin building their startup or their company with the purpose or the conscious idea leading their actions?
So I love this misconception. I love it because this is this common misconception that I have to first figure out how to make money and then I'll be good. What is a business except a collection of people and products and services that is designed to meet the needs of some stakeholder group, right? You start a business. Why? Because you feel like somebody needs something. Now, there are many businesses that are started that have no clue what anybody needs. They just think, oh, that's great, I could do this with technology, therefore I should. Doesn't mean anybody actually wants it. If all you focused on was trying to figure out how to meet the needs of your customer, you're already a conscious business. Because if you can meet the needs of a large enough group of people that will pay you enough money, you will be profitable. That's capitalism. So we have to distinguish between doing good and making money. If we do good, we make money. And doing good means meeting the needs of our customers. So how else would we run a business? Like we're looking to raise money or we're looking to sell things to customers. There is no other way to make money than to solve their need. Now you can rob anybody once, but they're not going to come back a second time. So if you want to have a sustainable business, you better make sure you're meeting their needs. So that's all it is. It's like we've been lost in this over the last few years. There's been this focus on startups that generate billions of dollars and the unicorn model of $1 billion startup. And it's an incredibly ill-informed hero worship, because that's not what we should be focused on. We'll make $1 billion if we focus on meeting the needs of more people. But we can't wake up every morning trying to figure out how to make $1 billion. It's impossible to create a business that way.
Awesome. And now I want to go ahead and move back into like how you operate. How you operate in your own life. Because I know last time we had spoken, you mentioned about how you run your business. Like you were very conscious and very intentional with how you wanted to grow and how you wanted to build your lifestyle. What is your approach like when it comes to lifestyle and work balance?
So I have been in large companies where, well, not large, I mean 300 people, 300 person sized companies. I manage a team of 20 people. I understand what it's like to manage larger teams. I understand understand how that impacts your own personal life when people don't show up for work and you've got to come in and, outside of regular hours, or you've got to find ways to replace that staff member, or there's a lot of management goes on with managing people, and it's not for me. If you like managing people, that's great. For me, I don't want to spend my time managing people. I actually want to spend my time having an impact on my clients' businesses. And I know that I can do that when I focus on the client's business. So how we've designed StoryForge is we've been very clear on how we want to grow and very clear on what way we want to grow. So
this is from the very beginning.
From the very beginning, before myself and my partner Haley, my business partner, before we ever signed our partnership agreement, we spent weeks going back and forth with each other, having coffees and lunches, deciding on the structure we wanted our week to look like, how we wanted our day to look like. And we decided early on we didn't want to manage people. We wanted to be a small little shop, 2 or 3 people. That's all we have today, 2 or 3 people, 4 years later. And we wanted to do work with people who believe the things we did. Mm-hmm. And we wanted to be able to do business from anywhere in the world. We didn't want to be stuck in one location. So right from the start, we made plans on how we were going to travel, how we were going to not have to be physically present 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. I don't see that as any metric of success. Mm-hmm. My metric of success is how much time am I able to spend doing the things I want to do. And sometimes that's work. Other times I might be skiing. Other times I might be on a ship. Other times I might be in a lake. I don't know. But my metric of success is not how much money I make. It's how much time do I get to spend doing the things I want to do. Because we don't have much more time. We can always make more money, but I don't know if it buys us back any more time.
Yeah. Has this always been, so when you were younger, like you're in your 20s, you're just starting out, was this always your mindset towards business?
No. And I wasted a lot of time. I wasted a lot of vacations taking laptops with me. I wasted a lot of potential vacations that I didn't take because I was so focused on getting the next client, selling, making more revenue, selling. Is my life better because of it? I can't imagine I can't imagine it is. I mean, maybe I made more money one year, maybe I lost it all the next year, I don't know, but I didn't spend enough time with the people that I should have spent time with, right? And I think I definitely lost out on relationships and building deeper connections with people because I was too distracted. I was always focused on my phone, my computer, my iPad. It's only in the last, I would say 3 years since we started StoryForge, I don't take my laptop with me on vacations. My last vacation over Christmas, for 12 days, I didn't take my phone.
Wow.
And I've been very conscious about how I take clients so they understand that that's how I work. Mm-hmm. And so before I went on vacation over Christmas, all my client engagements were designed to end the day before I went. And I wasn't designed to start any until I came back. So nobody needed me in that time. Mm-hmm. And I had a plan on how I was going to get clients when I came back. So I've been conscious about how I structure my day and structure my week and structure our working life because there's far more to life. I have far more varied interests than just making money as a business owner.
Was there some sort of event that caused that shift for you from, being always working, always busy, getting the next client to now really being very intentional with your time and with your life?
I would say that my fiance has been the biggest single element in that. Mm-hmm. She's a very conscious person, how she lives her life. She's very aware of what will be additive to her life and what won't be. And she's careful to avoid the things that take away from the things she really values. She values deep and meaningful relationships with people, and she would rather have those over any work all day long. Now, we have to keep the lights on, we got to pay the bills, right? But there's a point at which once you pay the bills, will another $10 help us, or would I rather spend time with a friend or a family member? So she's been instrumental, and not from any pressure from her, but more I've observed her and learned from her, and I've realized, you know what? She has got that figured out, and I would rather be like her than like how I lived my life before.
So like she didn't really pressure you or anything?
Not one single bit. No, just watching her thoughtfulness and her approach to life and her genuine happiness at the little things in life made me realize, boy, I've been focused on the wrong things. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awesome. And now I kind of want to ask, it's maybe a personal question, but what's the most challenging thing about being you? Because I know you got your hands in a lot of different a lot of different projects around Columbus, and you're very involved in the community. So what's the most challenging thing about being Barry?
you probably have to ask everybody else what they everybody I'm sure has some challenge with me. I know I have the tendency to lack focus, and it's easy to spread myself thin. I get very excited about certain projects and I tend to lose myself in them, and I have to be very conscious of when I'm going down a rabbit hole that could take me away from the core thing I'm focused on. So I know that I can't take on too many things. I have a limit to how many things I can take on and still be effective.
Yeah.
That's something that has chased me for years, just this shiny ball syndrome that I've had to be I just had to figure out, okay, what are symptoms? You're going down this path. Okay, come back, pull yourself back, save yourself quick, and then just focus on the thing. So for example, I always have new business ideas, but I made a decision probably about 2 years ago where if I had an idea for a business, I would just create a note for it, save it on my computer, put some ideas in there, and then once I had reached the revenue numbers I wanted to with my current business, and I had some time available and I wanted to spend some time in it, sure, go look at the other thing. But until you got this core thing fixed or sorted, or on the track you wanted to be on, I just felt like it wasn't effective.
All right, now moving forward towards the namesake of the podcast, if you were to take all of your knowledge and your experience and your approach to life, entrepreneurship, and to just intentionalism, what would you say defines a powerful mindset?
Being very clear on your beliefs, what you stand for and what you stand against, so that you can make decisions as early as possible in your life about the things you can say no to. We only have so much time, and the greatest minds I've ever had the privilege of learning from have been very intentional with their time, because they know very clearly what they stand for, what they believe in, what their own direction is, so they can say quickly no to that thing that doesn't really align. That to me is a powerful mind, the ability to be so focused, laser focused, that you can say no more times than you say yes.
And I know saying no is a big challenge for a lot of people, especially entrepreneurs. Because of the whole idea thing, like you see a shiny object or a shiny idea and you want to go for it. Do you have like some tips, like one or two things or habits people can put into practice so that they can begin to build that practice in themselves to be able to say no?
Turn off the TV. Stop focusing on things that are distracting. I mean, look, we have hours in the day that we waste. I'm guilty as anybody else of it. But if we haven't given 150% to the thing we're focused on, what makes us think we're going to give it to the next thing? Everything is shiny. Everything looks great. But we can't do everything. And I think we have to at some point admit that to ourselves, as hard as that is, that we just can't do everything. But wouldn't it be great to say we were successful at this? And what would we learn being successful at that? Or wouldn't it be great to say, I gave it 150% and it failed, but guess what I learned? Now I go on to the next thing. But I think that there's the danger of spreading ourselves too thin, and everybody's got a better idea that you should have how you should be spending your time and how you should be chasing something else. And hey, have you thought about this thing over here? It's a controversial thought, because some entrepreneurs say yes to everything because you'll learn so much. I don't know. For me, that wouldn't work. Maybe for others it will, but my recommendation, for what it's worth, is to double down on the thing you're focused on right now. And until you've exhausted all opportunities with that, don't move on to the next thing.
Awesome. Now, what's the most exciting thing in your life right now?
I'm going to get married in 4 months' time, so that is the most exciting thing in my life. I don't know that there's anything bigger, so that's pretty exciting.
I almost want to ask, how do you have time for anything right now with your business, conscious capitalism, and a wedding coming up here really soon?
Google Calendar is an amazing friend. I try and spend as much time as I can in all the right places, and obviously you're not successful at it all the time, but I'm becoming more intentional about how I spend my time and where I spend my time and with whom I spend my time. And I think that has been helpful, knowing maybe who's not serving my purpose or helping move me towards the direction that I want to go, or adding to my life. I've been careful about not spending time in places that really don't help my direction. So that's been helpful. And conscious capitalism, of course, aligns with everything I believe, so I'm going to spend time there. StoryForge is what I love to do, and then of course my relationship is where I would like to spend even more time, more than anything else. So I'll be focused a lot on that in 2018.
Awesome. No, I love the work that you do. I mean, I looked through StoryForge and I've actually used a few of your articles, and I'm like working on applying the things that you offer on your website just to my own businesses and what I do. With that said, though, how can we connect with you? We want to learn more about what you do with StoryForge, Conscious Capitalism, or if you have a social media presence, where can we find you and connect?
So I've got a number of videos with some tips and strategies on how we help businesses to become more meaningful and to have a clear, singular purpose. You can go to blog.storyforge.co to find those videos. You can go to our website, storyforge.co. You can find me on Twitter, Barry_Chandler on Twitter, and you can visit consciouscapitalism.org to understand more about conscious capitalism and find your local chapter, and you'll find the Columbus chapter there too.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you very much, Barry, for taking the time to share today. I mean, I'm very inspired. I'm really glad that I was directed to you on everything that you do with StoryForge and Conscious Capitalism. It's a great movement, and I'm looking forward to following and helping in any way that I can.
I appreciate the conversation, Alex. Thanks so much.